Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my review on the Sephora Pro Warm Palette. As always, there will be timestamps below, swatches, cost breakdown, all of that info in case you don't want to watch the whole thing. So Sephora recently released 3 of these Pro palettes. This warm one, there's a cool one, and then there's an editorial one that's filled with bright colors. So a little background on Sephora. I'm sure a lot of you guys are very familiar with the store. Sephora started out as a French retail brand of cosmetics stores. They were founded in 1969 by Dominique, and forgive me if I'm going to butcher this name, Madonade, I believe is how you say it. I'll have it in the screen here. Sephora was purchased by LVMH, which stands for Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, in 1997, and they opened their first US store a year later in 1998. The word Sephora actually does have a meaning. It stems from the Greek word stephos, which means beauty, and then Zipporah, which was Moses's very beautiful wife they speak of, that is mentioned in the book of Exodus. According to Sephora's website, in the back of the box, this palette was curated by some of the Sephora Pro artists on their favorite warm colors. Where you can find this is online. It's obviously owned by Sephora, so it's a Sephora exclusive. You can get it in stores and online. This has been popping in and out of stock. It's selling out and then coming back in. One thing Sephora I've noticed has been doing, which is driving me crazy, and I've only noticed it on these palettes, is when it goes out of stock, it's taking it off the site. So I can't even get to the link. It's saying page not available, and then when it comes back in, it's on, which is weird that it wouldn't just say out of stock. I don't know why it's doing that. It might be a glitch in the site. The cost for this is $68, which that is a very hefty price tag for a Sephora brand product, but we'll get into how much product and things like that you're getting in a little bit. I accidentally recycled the box already. The box looks just like this. It's just black, plain. It's very sleek looking, which I like this. It actually has some weight to it too. Like, this feels like a substantial palette. It's not like a very thin, light plastic container. One thing I like about it as well is you get this really nice mirror inside. What I don't like is it gives you this insert for the names over top. I always prefer them to have the names written on there, but it's just easier if you ever want to follow along for tutorials, or you can reference the color. This product is made in the USA, and you're getting 28 shades. Each shade is 1.2 grams, giving you a total of 33.6 grams worth of product, which is a substantial amount of product. According to the back of the box, the finishes in here are chrome, shimmer, satin, and matte. I'm not quite sure which are all which because they're not labeled, so I'm just going to break these down into basically like mattes and shimmers, I'll tell you. In this palette, you're getting 20 matte/satins, and you're getting 8 chrome/shimmers. This product is not vegan because it does contain carmine, and I don't see anywhere that it's advertised as being cruelty-free. Sephora does sell overseas. Anything made in the European Union is supposed to be cruelty-free. There are some loopholes to get around that, but since this is made in the US and it doesn't state that, I'm assuming it is not. I just want to show you guys a quick cost breakdown on the screen right here. As you can see, you are getting a ton of product in this, so the cost per gram is pretty reasonable. Although when I just look at it based on other palettes in the $68 range, it's a hefty investment. When I went through the ingredients on here, the only 2 potential problems I see is carmine, if you have sensitive eyes to that, which can cause irritation in a lot of people, and ultramarines, again, if you have sensitivity to those ingredients, I would steer clear of this. The application of these, they do have a ton of kick up, which I will show in the swatches. And it's weird because it's more than like dust. It almost reminds me of like sheetrock. Like, it comes off in kind of like sheet chunks, which I don't mind, but I know some of you do, so that's why I mention it. I do find that these blend really well. There are a couple duds in this palette that you'll be able to tell from the swatches, but in general, I think that they all perform pretty well. If you do not like fallout like the modern renaissance or the subculture, you probably won't like this because it is very crumbly. Since these shadows are so soft, if you go in with a ton of colors, you will get a muddy color. If you stick to like 3, like a transition, a crease, an all over lid, and like an outer V, 3-4 shades, you'll be good. If you try to pack on too many, it's gonna turn into like one color. The wear on these I find very good. No fading or anything like that. My biggest critique of this palette is I almost wish it was half the shades for half the cost, and I think they would have had a home run here. Although this is getting excellent reviews on Sephora, I find so many of these colors to be extremely similar once blended out on the eye, and you'll even be able to tell in some of the swatches. I also find some, like even these shimmers, like this one is called bronze. This doesn't look bronze to me. This looks gold, or like an antique gold to me. Just some of these colors are just very similar. I really love this red color. I like the orange shades. I like the warm browns. This black is an impressive black. I just feel like a lot of these, like several colors in the beginning here, look similar on me. Again, if they would have cut the price tag in half to be $34 for 14 shades, I think that this would have been awesome. I do find some of these, even though they have slight nuances in there, like you're talking to someone that probably has like 5,000 brown eyeshadows, I just feel like, again, for Sephora brand, half the shadows at half the cost. If you look at this palette, you probably already own shades like this if you're a warm eyeshadow lover. I find this one to be what draws a lot of people in, the pink and this kind of red color. And then I think everything else is pretty generic. Some people have asked, so here it is against the Busy Art Warm palette. There are some similarities in this palette, but again, this is all matte. This does have some shimmer. What I find in here is that I like this red. This one goes better with your finger. Again, I don't like finger application. I will have to wet my brush for that. And I like some of these, like the orangish tones, that kind of like salmon color, and then some of these browns. Some of these colors that are almost like a matte, or it's like a satin with shimmer in it, I don't like. You'll see in the swatches, I did compare this against the Natasha Denona palette, which there are some similarities in there, especially if you think about you're getting this for half the cost of this. I do find that I like these mattes better. They're a little more true to pigment. Like this, when you put it on, it's so soft, it almost kind of like blends in to be more of a muted color than it looks in the palette. Well, these will stay a little more true. Again, I'm not a fan of chroma crystals that have to be used with my fingers, but they have changed the formula slightly in this one to be different than the original chroma crystals. The original ones had a ton of fallout on my face. Throughout the day, I would have glitter I could see underneath my eye that would drive me crazy. But this is a decent option for this palette. If you look at it though, again, if you own some of these warm palettes, is anything going to be super unique about this? No. If you don't have any warm shades, I think that this would be a great option. This one has different berry tones in it than this one does. I think what would have really pushed this a little more home for me is if they would have had some more of these red tone and berry shades in the shimmers. Again, some of these are so similar, I'm like, what do I need two of those shades for? Okay, now let's get into some swatches. As always, Ripley was kind enough to swatch for me on deeper skin tone. There is a lot of shadows in here, so the swatches are going to be a little longer. I have added some comparisons side by side after like all of them, so you can kind of see them static against my skin tone in Ripley's, and I also did kind of like an all over roundup. One of the pictures when I'm comparing against Natasha Denona, since the Sephora has 4 rows deep and the Natasha Denona only has 3, you're going to see 3 versus 3, and then I took 1 row that had the yellow in it out of the Sephora palette against the one that had yellow in it and then Natasha Denona, so you'll see one slide like that. I couldn't fit it in, and it was making my eye twitch, it not being even. I'm also going to show you in there some of the kick up you get. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you use your finger, and I'm also going to show what it's like if you dip your brush in, because there is a substantial amount. Again, that does not bother me as long as they blend well. I just want to make you aware. I typically like to put my foundation on first and then do my eye makeup. If I use some of like that red shimmer shade, I will get fallout on my cheek, so I can brush that away, so it might be better for you to do your eyes first and then your foundation. Okay guys, let's get into some swatches now. I will be swatching in my typical fashion. I will be laying down a base of Urban Decay's Primer Potion. I will be swatching the shimmer shades with my MAC 242 brush, and I will be swatching the mattes with my MAC 239 brush. In between swatches, I will be cleaning my brush in my color switch so my brush will not be damp. As always, the first swatch will be a finger swatch, and the one right next to it will be a brush swatch, just so you can see the difference in performance.
I just wanna hold you. I just wanna look into your eyes and tell you that I want you. You know you make me feel so alive.
So as you guys can see, those swatch really well. They are very pigmented. These are very soft shadows. I originally was purchasing all 3 of these, but I modified my order because since they are so expensive, I wanted to make sure I even liked this one before I wasted money on 2 more. I do like the formula. Again, I just feel like for that cost, if Sephora's trying to position themselves as more of like a premium brand and their own in-house brand, I just feel like cut the shadows in half and sell it for half the cost because you did not need all of the shades that were in here. I did notice on Ripley's swatches that a lot of the shades looked the same on her as well. You can kind of tell the different nuances in the shadows on my skin because it's almost like rubbing it on a piece of paper. Where someone that has pigment in their skin, it might kind of start to get lost. I kind of feel indifferent about this palette. Like, I like how they blend. I'm happy to have it. Is it something that I've reached for very often? No, just because I do have so many warm shadows that I like already. So if you don't have existing warm shadows, I would say this is a good purchase because you're getting a lot of product, good bang for your buck. If you already have palettes like this, like this, like this, or this, I would say skip. Again, just because of the cost. But that's going to be up to you guys. So that's all I pretty much have to say about this. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I will see you next time.